Welcome in, everybody. Sorry, I was in the process of putting some chapstick on. Sorry about that. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome on in. How's everybody's weekend going? How's your Sunday? Yesterday, I thought it was Sunday all day. Guess it wasn't. Guess it was Saturday. But I really did. I thought it was Sunday all day. I think I even said on the live last night that I needed to get off the live so that I could wake up early to go and work out. And I only work out Monday through Friday normally, so if you hear the snoring in the background, that's just my dog. She's being really loud right now, so I don't know if you can hear. But today we're gonna be going over the Anna Kempner case. I'm gonna actually pull up a picture really quick while we're talking about her and her family. But if you guys are new here, my name is Tanya. This is Titanium Built. Welcome on in. Welcome back to the Titans that come and continue to come and join me every day for a live. I appreciate you guys. But basically on this channel, we cover, true crime cases. Like I said, we cover court documents, criminal trials, all of the developments, timelines, all that kind of stuff that goes into a case. And we cover that pretty extensively whenever we go over a case. But tonight we're going to be continuing our deep dive into the newly released 145-page transcript in the case of Anna Kempner. We've already reviewed much of the document, but we are now at the final 40 pages, and we're going to see what additional information that the attorneys are going to give us, the court, the prosecutor, everybody. So before we jump into the final pages, we'll do a brief recap of the case for you guys in case, you guys are coming in and you're not sure what this case is about. The Anna Kempner, it was an 18-year-old female. She was a young woman that went on a Carnival Horizon cruise ship with her family. That's pictured with her there, her dad, stepmother, and blended family. Prosecutors are alleging that her stepbrother, Timothy Hudson, who is 16, they were sharing a cabin together along with her other sibling, another boy. They're saying that Timothy Hudson chokehold her, put her in a chokehold, but prior to doing that, he assaulted her sexually. So um, we kind of knew from the beginning what was kind of going on, but now we really know. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we have a lot more evidence that is saying that, maybe this is more towards Timothy, right? So we are going to go over the last set of the documents because when we read them, we read them through, and I was trying to skip through some, but there was just, I was like, man, these are all kind of important. Like they were talking about, how she was found, the autopsy, what happened that evening, CCTV footage. So if you've missed any of the other lives, we've done 2 other ones over this. Make sure you watch those because we might not go over the same stuff in this one, you never know. Um, so what we were reading last night is the probable cause. They were trying to see if they had probable cause enough to either A, for the charges, put the charges against Timothy, and then 2, detain him. And so we were, I believe that this is the part of the probable cause where they're talking about the detainment. So we were on page 102. Let me see if we go back up. We'll go up here to Mr. Koo or however we're going to say his name. That way we can kind of get back into what we were, kind of talking about. But yes, but welcome in everybody. Let me say hi to you guys too really quick just so that we can pass a couple minutes. That way we don't get docked if we say some words we shouldn't be saying. Hey, Crystal. Hey, my ladybug. How you doing today? Hey, Lee. Oh, well, we miss you. We miss you so much, Lee. We really do. I miss when the guys are in here, I love you ladies. But man, Lee, you better not go too far. Hey, Dawn. Yes. So that's what they're yeah, they're trying to put this on that 13-year-old boy, Connor. Yep. I couldn't even believe it. When we read that, I was like, oh my goodness. Hey, citizen. I think I said hi to Crystal. If I didn't, hello, Crystal. Hey, Grandma Sherry. Your little avatar always puts a smile on my face. It really does. And it's just you too. You have a sweet voice. Hey, Nate. How you doing? How's everybody's weekend? Hopefully you guys are having an awesome weekend. It's been pretty awesome here. Before actually we do get started in these, I will say really quick, well, since I've got you guys here, and I do believe in the power of prayer. I really do. Last night when I got off the live, if you guys know Rocky, you guys know that that's my 18-year-old cat. He is my world. He is my everything. He and Vincent, they fighting for the top, okay? He's 18 years old. He's been through, like, 3 lifetimes with me. He's the only thing I have that, like, I don't know, that I have that I've had, I don't wanna make it sad, but so, last night when I got off the live, he remember he got sick on the live last night? So he got sick, but that's just, like, he's a cat. So I cleaned it up, and I kinda scooted him out the door, and I felt kinda bad doing that. 'Cause I was like, I kinda had to scoot him out. Normally, he wants to go out. So when I got off the live, he was sitting in the bed, like, the way he was laying, he was just, like, real low, and, like, he did not feel good. Vincent wasn't here. Immediately, I go to full-blown meltdown because that's me. I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that. Um, so Vincent came home. I slept with the cat last night because Rocky took Vincent's spot. And when I woke up today, he jumped, he perked up a little bit. He ate some food. He's drank some water. So we're good there. But just if you think about him, just say a little prayer for him because he's getting older. Say a little prayer for me too, because, you know, I mean, yeah, so I think he's okay. He's just a little still not feeling the greatest, but he got some water, he ate some food, so I'm good with that. So hey, hoodies. So I wanted to tell you guys that because you guys are like you're like my fam. And I know that if I ever came on here and, was like, needed you guys, I know that you guys would be here. Like, and that's what I mean, it means a lot to me. It means a lot. So I want to let you guys know because yeah, he's getting older. I gotta realize that, but he's my baby. So okay, now we're going to talk about these. It seems like these are even babies. I mean, they're so young. So we're going to talk about the case Anna Kempner, like I said. So basically, they have a lot of evidence on Timothy. They've got CCTV footage of him. They have where Anna went into the room and then she never, reappeared. He went in like 3 minutes after her. He disposed of her phone. They have him pinging, around the ship, carrying her phone and then dropping it into the trash. And then, he obviously leaves and the phone is still there. So they do have a good amount of evidence, but I will say the defense is they're pulling their weight. They're doing a pretty good job, I think. Um, so Mr. Q is for the defense. So it says, well, on the point of the essay, look, there's DNA evidence. And this is where they say, about the strong evidence. They have strong evidence to support. Obviously, we are going to reserve the right to challenge that. I'm assuming for today, it's probative, right? I think they maybe have satisfied their probable cause burden of showing that intercourse took place. I don't think they've satisfied the burden of showing that it was non-consensual. We all think that they did. They make hay of the fact that her underwear was found inside of her vagina, although given the fact pattern before the court, the record that you're dealing with, there's a universe in which it was not intercourse that caused the presence of semen. Oh yeah, this is the one in a different universe. This guy gets me. Or it says so, and there's a universe out there, right? Okay, in which the semen that also caused the positioning of the underwear. More specifically, they are assuming that Anna engaged in sexual intercourse only once that night. That is what I mean by it's being based on guesses and assumptions. Well, no, they have his DNA. So I don't think they make a showing a probable cause for sexual battery, and I don't think they make a showing a probable cause for murder because, excuse me, you heard on direct, right? There is a large window of opportunity where this could have happened, and there is more than one person in the room. So basically, there was a timeline, and I don't know why I took that off. I needed that timeline. I exit out of the page. I can get back up. That's okay. I'll try to remember by memory. But so his name's Connor, but it's in the document. They messed up and they put it in there. But they are basing it on when C, the younger sibling, came back to the room. So they came back twice, well, in a total 3 times, but twice they came in and they left. First time they came in, they were in there for like, I think they said just a few seconds, and then he walks back out. Then he comes later and he has his friends with him, and he goes in for about 2 minutes, and then he leaves again. And then at 12:09, I believe, or something around that time, 12 o'clock, he goes in, and then that's the lot. That's, he doesn't, um, he goes to bed. But the second time that he goes into the room, the first time he says when he goes into that room, he does see Anna. But the second time around the 10 o'clock window, 11 o'clock window, I believe it was, that was when he didn't see Anna anymore. He didn't see her after that. And it says, so do we read this part? Yeah. So I don't think they've proven probable cause with respect to the phone. I don't know. I don't know why he would have the phone. I don't know why it went into the trash can. I don't know. It is unclear. Why don't you ask him? It is curious. Like I said, there's lots of gaps and question marks that surround this. I would be speculating for your honor, but I mean, obviously, there are plenty of reasonable doubts about what happened here, and I would submit it doesn't rise to the level of probable cause either. Ultimately, the court is going to make a finding. Moving on to my second point about the GDA, and that's, I believe, the Juvenile Detention Center. Counsel for the government seems to think this is a criminal prosecution. It is. And I'm sure she will correct me if I'm wrong, but it simply is not a criminal prosecution. The Bill of Rights lays out a number of constitutional rights that protect criminal defendants. The Fifth Amendment requires an indictment. The Sixth Amendment requires the appointment of counsel and a public trial. Wait. Okay. Is it no secret? And then the court, you know, butts in. Rather than going back to the prosecutor, isn't it fair to say that at least in juvenile proceeding under the statute, it is a quasi-criminal proceeding? And he says yes, meaning that the procedures are different. That's fair. The procedures are different, but we are not finding people guilty of crimes. We are adjudicating individuals delinquent of the laws of the United States. Okay. Right. The reason that verbiage is different is because if we called them crimes, we called it guilty, then they need to have all of these protections. But we recognize the unique position that juveniles are in. We recognize the vulnerability of children, that they are not fully developed and that they don't have control necessarily over the environments that they're in. Let's back it up for just a second. Let's just back this up for a second. Okay. This kid's like a year and a half or 2 years, away from being 18. And he's not that. Is he 16 or 17? I can't remember now. I can't remember. My brain's like cooked on these documents. But it's like, I why are they not charging him as an adult? Like, why is he? I mean, I don't know. And if you are charged as an adult, this is a question I have. Hey, body, I think you know this. Hey, body, if you are charged as an adult and you're a juvenile, I don't know why I don't know this answer, and I might just be like blanking out. But do you go to okay? So if you're a juvenile and you're charged as an adult, do you go to an adult jail, like adult, of course, an adult jail, but like, or yeah, like an adult jail or adult prison, especially an adult jail to be held? I would say you would, right? Yeah, it's just being handled. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like this juvenile. Yeah. Okay. That's what it is then. It is being in an adult court. So I'm just like, this is an adult crime. Like, this is a big boy crime. I mean, I said on one of my lives, I remember this, like, it was like, this kid was probably 10 or 11. I remember he was a little chunky black kid, and I thought he was adorable, but he was he was bad. He killed someone. He killed someone, and they gave him the perp walk and everything, and this kid was so young. I mean, maybe like 10? I need to look up that case. I need to find that case. It was a long time ago, but I remember that little kid. Then I think he had a blue puffy coat on too or something, and they, like, strutted him across I was like, "He's like 10." So, it's crazy. Um Where are we at? I think we're down here. Yeah. So Congress has struck a bargain, right? They set an upper limit for punishment at 21, and they also appreciate important privacy concerns, which is why, for the most part, today we've been addressing everyone by their initials. Yeah, for the most part. Not even by their initials. They didn't even get, like, that's not even, they didn't even do that. Let me actually get you guys up on my other screen. I forgot to do that. I can't see y'all. I'll get there. I think tonight on the second channel, we should do something fun, like, go through all the stuff that happened at CrimeCon, because it seems like it was like a crazy experience there. And also, do I have any more? I think we have like more memberships. We did. Okay, so we got all these over here. Now we just need to get the ones over on the other page. Hey, Brandy. Thank you for being a member for 16 months. I appreciate that, honey. It's good to see you. Hey, Happy Cappy. At 21. Okay, I think that's how it is in Ohio too. Oh, you twisted your knee. Oh, well, take it easy. Did you have fun? I hope you had fun. I was having FOMO for a minute, but then I think I'm okay. Seemed like it was a little cry cry there. So they're talking about the environments that they're in. So Congress struck a bargain. It says they set the upper limit for punishment at 21, and they also appreciate important privacy concerns, which is why, for the most part, today we've been addressing everyone by their initials. It is why he's charged in an information that addresses him with his initials. It is why the courtroom is sealed. We respect that children need special treatment and shouldn't necessarily be held in custody for the rest of their lives because of something they do when they're kids and they're not fully formed. Okay, that's like a catch-22 right there. I mean, so do we put them in jail at all because they're so young, and or do we wait till they're 21 and then put 'em, I mean, I don't know. I feel like putting them in jail until they're 21, that's just gonna create even a lot more. I feel like you learn more about the law and how to break it sometimes when you're in jail than the actual, like, you know, getting better. Obviously, the government intends to move this to adult status, right? And at that point, his right to indictment is going to kick in. His right to everything else in the Constitution is going to be in full force. But right now, as it stands, Congress has chosen a bargain. And that bargain here requires your honor to look at this bond package under Section 5034 of Title 18 of the United States Code. So now that I think we've kind of got a record on that point, I think I'll move on to the bond package. And the court says, my understanding is there is no bond per se, but there are obviously conditions of confinement or conditions of release, I suppose. Okay, Mr. Q, he's like the defense guy. Yes, I mean, look, I think it would be in the discretion of the court, and we're asking for this, right? You could release him ROR today on, and OR is like on your own recognizance. Today, in the custody of a parent, the statute allows you to do that with nothing more than the parent or guardian or responsible individuals promise to bring him back as required to do so. There is a caveat that you could detain them if he is danger to himself or others, and I'm not sure whether the government is submitting that he is a danger to others and himself. You do know, we just talked about it last night. They were talking about how they think the dangerousness of him being in the home, either home with there's kids in both homes. I swear this defense guy that acts like he's kind of dumb. Like he didn't hear something, like he's been like he's not in the same courtroom. Are they giving him like something to put over his ears? I hear them just saying he is a danger to others. Okay, so it says, I'm not sure whether the government is submitting that he is a danger to others and himself. I hear them just saying he is a danger to others. Okay, right? They mention, in fact, other siblings or half siblings. Right. I am going to get there. You have to make a finding that I think there is no condition or combination of conditions you could put on his liberty to ensure the safety of the community, right? And that is why we could think a personal surety bond is appropriate here with conditions that can alleviate the court's concerns that he is a danger, because if you release him with these conditions, you can't make the findings that he is a danger to others. I forgot to slide you guys on the screen. Here we go. Let me go back over here. Okay. Yeah. Yes. I think that mental health, is needed when kids are committing crimes like this. I mean, like or any crime, really. I mean, at that age, when what are they experiencing either at home or school or wherever where they're learning the stuff? Thank you, Brandy, for the 9.99. That was so nice of you. Thank you so much, sweetie. Okay. Um, so this is a bond package. Before I get into that, I mean, I want to be clear about something. Oh, we're not arguing that the government wasn't interested in detaining him, right? I respect the government's position that they were investigating and they were allowing a special situation to kind of unfold while he stayed out. I appreciate that. I'm not saying that you need to look at the prosecution and say, "Well, you agreed to let him stay out, right?" That's not what I'm arguing. I'm arguing first and foremost that he is a child. I mean, look at him. He is almost 120 pounds soaking wet. Well, Anna was 109 pounds of death. So he is a kid. So was she. Well, 1 year off. She just turned 18. I mean, like, I could go all day. By all accounts, from what I have been able to find, he is an honor roll student. He is good at school. Obviously, education at this point. Oh, wait, no, he hasn't been going to school. No, no, he's not on the honor roll. Remember last night? Wait, wait a second. Remember last night they said they couldn't even tell the mom couldn't even tell if he was going to school or not because he's been staying with the uncle. And he's supposed to be having homeschooling, but they were like, the mom can't even give us an answer if he's actually doing any schoolwork. But now all of a sudden he's an honor roll student. So was I. You know, I know I got homeschooled. You make your own grades. What are you talking about? I don't. He is good at school, obviously, education at this point. The past 3 months of his life, I understand he's been given schoolwork, but he's not enrolled in the school that he was previously going to. And what is happening in his life is obviously very traumatic for everyone involved. He's so traumatized he can't do his schoolwork. It's a tragedy for every person in this room, but he has no disciplinary history. The allegations in this case are a unique blip on an otherwise embellished record, right? He's never been in trouble before. And for the past 3 months that he's been out and in the custody of his uncle, which he is in the custody of his uncle with the consent of his uncle's sister, his mother. There's no indication that he's hurt anyone during this investigation. Instead, he's cooperated with the FBI. Obviously, they got a search warrant for his phone, but they also got his DNA. Did he fight them when they came for his DNA? No. He consented to a collection of it. He peacefully met with the FBI. They swabbed his cheek. No issue, no harm. Yeah, because he thought he was protected. I think when they do these detention hearings in front of your honor, frequently under the Bail Reform Act, we don't have the benefit of what we have here, essentially a beta test. You let him out on Tuesday and he's here. He showed up. He hasn't hurt a fly, right? So we know that he can be released on nothing more than a promise to return and he won't hurt anyone. How long was he out? Well, I mean, this is insanity, you know? So I think the past 3 months and specifically the past week show that there are conditions you can place on this child to ensure that he is not going to hurt anybody. Then everybody needs to be out of the juvenile system. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like there are kids in like JDC, that's what we call it here, juvenile detention center. Like that, like maybe they sold some weed or something stupid. You know what I mean? And they're in there. This kid raped and murdered somebody and then hid the body and concealment. I mean, like there's so many charges, but you know, like it's just that's crazy to me. So I think that the past 3 months, you know, it says that he's not going to hurt nobody. Specifics. Probation recommends a personal surety bond despite the severity of this charge, right? That charge, right? They suggest that he be released on a personal surety bond with family co-signers. I've got that. His father and his uncle Devin, who he is currently living with, will co-sign on the bond. Because, well, the dad wants the son back. So maybe that's why. They say he can't have a passport. He doesn't have a passport and he doesn't have a driver's license. They submit they want him to sit for a mental health assessment and treatment if necessary. No problem with that. I think that is excellent idea. No guns in the home is their recommendation. Straight up with you, he is a responsible gun owner. He keeps his firearms in a safe. He has no problem whatsoever surrendering those firearms to a third party if Your Honor does not want any weapons to be in the home. I kind of like this dad. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, even when we were listening to him at the trial or like the court hearings and stuff, like I don't know. His answers compared to hers were just a little different. So probation wants travel limited to the Southern District of Florida and the Middle District of Florida. Again, completely fine with us, and we're willing to go further. If Your Honor wants to impose the condition of location monitoring, whether that be a curfew or home detention or anything, we're open to it, right? He'll wear an ankle monitor. I don't think it's necessary, but that is something we can do. Moreover, I'm going to add this because this is a rare thing we get on bond packages, but Mr. Zeski is willing to serve as a third-party custodian for him. Who's this guy? He's essentially already been that already, but I want to tell you a little bit about Mr. We're call it Mr. Z, and I want to invite the court to qualify with him if you'd like. Okay. The government brought this up. His wife, Sarah, is a stay-at-home mom. She homeschools both of their children. He has a son that is 10 years old and a daughter who is 7 years old. Absolutely not. Throw it away. You're done. Nope. Kids in there. I say no. I specifically asked this man, have you at any point had any concerns about the safety of your children with him in the home? He has no concerns whatsoever. Not me if I was a parent. Nope. There is always a possibility. He's done this. I mean, allegedly, you know what I mean? Like, I know we'll see there's camera footage and stuff, but allegedly I don't know. That was my child. No, if I had children in my home, I would not let you near them. I don't care. I just wouldn't. He did not blink an eye when he was asked to take custody of this child by his sister. He did it because he loves his family and trusts this child. I think it is also important to talk about who Devin Zinsky is as a human being because he's uniquely equipped to step in this situation. Devin is a veteran of the United States Army. He started in the airborne infantry. After that, he got involved in the chaplains department and specialized in crisis management. And after that, I believe it was after that. Okay. He actually started working in recruiting around Hernando County. He works with children and encourages them to join the armed services. He is a religious man. He specifically asked me that if T was released, that he be permitted at a minimum to attend church services twice a week with the family. He is no longer in the military. He now essentially is in the real estate business. He buys homes and then he either flips them at a profit or he rents them out to tenants. That'd be free labor. I mean, free work. So I understand that in addition to his homestead, where he and his wife and his children and currently Tim lives, he owns 5 other properties. 2 of them have tenants in it. 2 of them are under construction. I think one is being prepared for sale. I think that is relevant for the court because we show up on personal surety bond. It is important for the court to know there are assets to back up that promise. This guy is willing to put up all his homes, his whole life's work. No, I mean, if that was my nephew or my niece, no. I love my nieces and nephews more than anything in this world. I think I'd probably do it because I know that they wouldn't have done this. But I would have to see the camera footage first. I'd have to be like, D, we gotta watch that camera footage of you. You peeking out the door, looking this way, looking this way. I mean, just the stuff he did, you know? I really wish that somebody would have heard what's going on in that cabin. It must be like maybe loud on them ships or something. So, the real danger, the real issue is on the risk to others. And he says, I know. And on that issue, how old are the children in the family? He already said that. In the household, rather, 10 and 7. And genders, the boy is 10, the girl is 7. Like, I feel like we repeat stuff a lot. Like, the court doesn't listen. No one's listening to each other. Okay, I mean, this is the status quo that has been working. We are proposing making a more secure status quo, not a weaker status quo. I want to contrast with with the alternative, which is this idea that he is at a juvenile detention center. Yes, in the beginning, he is going to be at this juvenile secure detention center, but it is my understanding that if they are successful in their attempt to transfer this to adult status, he will be moved to TJK or Metro West. This is relevant because he is not a big guy. Neither is Brian Koberger. I mean, I'm just saying, there's a lot of small guys. He's not a big guy. So, okay, I'm gonna start using that too. There's all kinds of stuff I'm gonna use if I ever get arrested. I'm not a big girl. You can't take me to jail. I'm sorry. I think that I have to like bring some sort of humor into it because I just get like, it's just too much. Hey, Jensen. They like, it's like, really? So he says, I do think that we may have to have another bond hearing. But I mean, I think at this point, the appropriate way to operate would be if he were released on a bond, what would be, okay, I think this is messed up, but would he come back to do the initial appearance and arraignment in front of your honor and have a discussion about whether we need to modify or revoke the bond? He'll come back. I think we spent a lot of time. You've heard the evidence, and we'd at least at that point have had a sample size of information regarding his compliance and could make a determination going forward. Prior to moving across the state with his mother and his new stepfather in 2024, he did really well in school. Oh, here we go. He went to a small Christian school and he was bullied, and that was a big problem for him. He was bullied quite harshly as he was growing up. Them damn Christian kids. I mean, what kind of I would love to I mean, um, the bullying, okay. I haven't worked as a juvenile attorney in the state. Okay. I don't have that experience. When I was in law school, I and others taught at AO at Kids, which is the Department of Juvenile Justice program. So I know the type of kids that are being housed at these things. I am just concerned they are going to eat this kid alive, and I don't see how it makes him safer or anyone safer to put him in that environment when we have what is a very unique but acceptable situation where you have someone who is so someone who is so uniquely equipped. And again, it is Devin Zisk, right? This man is the perfect person to help the system. If anybody gets arrested, you call Devin Z, okay? You call Tim's uncle and you can stay at his house because he's here to help the system. The court says, now what about the concern expressed by the government in terms of status of the custody arrangements? Yeah, they don't want him around children. There's 2 children in the home, a little girl and a little boy, 10 and 7. So it says, he says, sure. The court says, or debates or proceedings that are going to be in connection outside the scope of this case, but in the family court case. So here's my understanding of the lay of the land. There is a custody, like a parenting plan in their family law case where mom has 80% custody of the children and 20% and dad has 20%. I understand with the oldest son, it is different because the oldest son lives with the dad, but he and his younger sister are 80% custody with the mother. When this happened, T's mom and stepfather made it abundantly clear that he was no longer welcome in their home. He was essentially abandoned. She is not going to give dad custody of him, but she was willing to give Devin custody because she wants to still probably collect the money that she would be receiving for custody, right? So she gives the kids to her brother instead of giving them to his father. In my opinion. Yeah. Mhm. So Devin stepped in, no questions asked, and took over, and she has consented to that in writing. And I understand from the government that the family court is allowing this to happen. The court says, right, I would imagine that this is something that the court had to have approved or been aware of. And Mr. Koo says, yes, look, I mean, like, we don't want him to see the dad. We don't want him to violate the court order in the family court. I mean, there is no indication that he is gallivanting around. Oh, he's not selling wood on the side of the road and stuff. I mean, that he's doing something. Honestly, my understanding of what he has been doing most of the time is he is either at Devin's home or he is going to the properties that Devin is fixing up, and he is teaching him how to fix up homes And he is just having him help out as they build a deck, which is good because one of his favorite things is being outdoors and experiencing nature, which he's not going to get to do in secure detention. You know what Anna liked to do? Live. I hate court documents when they read like this. And you know what? Devin's getting a freaking free hand. Like, I would love that. I have a business. You wanna come help me with mine? That's craziness. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he should be in custody. At least, like, juvenile court I mean, or juvenile custody, like, they can segregate him or whatever, like, put him, like I know that they could do that there, but this is just insane. His favorite things to do is being outdoors and experiencing nature. Okay, so the court said, "What about that? Going back to the government in terms of actually one of the concerns that the consideration that the court has to make under the statute is danger to the defendant in detention." And then Miss Lopez for the state, she comes in. "Yes, Your Honor. First of all, I do want to correct one small thing, and that is as to Section 5034, I disagree with Mr. Koo that at any point this court can release the defendant without any sort of conditions. The last paragraph in 1634, 5034, she says, states if the juvenile has not been discharged before his initial appearance before the magistrate judge shall release the defendant, the juvenile, to his parents, guardian, or custodian, or other responsible party, continuing on upon their promise to bring such a juvenile before the appropriate court requested by such court, unless," and then the court interrupts, "what are you reading from?" And she says, "This is the last paragraph of 5034, Your Honor, the duties of the magistrate in the JDA." And she says, "Okay." And this is it says that the court shall do this unless the magistrate judge determines after hearing, which is the hearing at which the juvenile's represented by counsel, that the detention of such juvenile is required to secure either his timely appearance before the appropriate court or to ensure his safety of that or others. And that's what they're doing right here. So it does provide the mechanism and allows this court to detain him now that we've got this hearing. To go to your honors, I bring that up not only because I disagree with Mr. Koo on that point, but also because it then segues into 5035. Unlike other defendants, right, the Bail Reform Act does not have an exhaustive list of all these rights that defendants have who are detained under the Bail Reform Act. Now, some are inherent into the Eighth Amendment. Some have been litigated subsequently involving the Eighth Amendment in our courts and indeed the Supreme Court, which has delinted that. But 5035 protects the juvenile by saying he may only be detained in a juvenile facility. Oh, yep. And that is that every juvenile in custody shall be provided with the adequate food, heat, light, sanitary facilities, bedding, clothing, recreation, education, and medical care, including psychiatric, psychological, or other care and treatment. They do that for all inmates. So the JDA says that while this defendant is in juvenile custody, he shall be provided with all of those things in an adequate amount. And it specifically states recreation and it states light. Okay. Why do I bring that up? First of all, the reason why the JRC or the Juvenile Residential Center exists separate from the area in TJK, which I will get to in a second, is because the Florida state legislator has recognized that juveniles who are detained because they are considered to be either a danger or a flight risk are supposed to have more rights than adults because they're young. So it also provides sufficient recreation time for them. It provides education, which the pretrial detention center in Metro West and TJK adult facilities provide them, but do not require them. He is to have an education while he's in, adequate medical care, food, etc. One of the reasons why I spoke to the marshals before this defendant even surrendered himself was to ensure that the marshals had toured the facility. And they had told me that they are satisfied that JRC, which is the Juvenile Residential Center, I'm just talking about it as the JRC, provides the sufficient rights and items that he is entitled to under 18 USC 5035. I was surprised we're giving him heat. Hey, princess, welcome in, everybody. Like, I mean, really, I told you they keep them jails cold. So I believe that even in detention, he will be provided with those opportunities, understanding he is not going to be able to go build a deck, but he doesn't have a constitutional right to build a deck. He has the right under the JDA to have his recreation and light time and to have all those things that he has under that section. Oh, I like it. I like the spiciness that comes out. It's been coming out in these documents the last couple nights. Like the last 2 nights, I am like telling you what, like they were as spicy. These were spicy. Like some of the stuff they were saying back and forth, I was like, dang. So the marshals have toured the facility. They are satisfied that it meets the requirements of that. Based on my past experience, though, I did not personally practice in the juvenile division at the state's attorney's office. I have friends who have, and I spoke to one of the attorneys who currently works there, and they assured me that all those things will be present and that if any time counsel feels that is not being compiled with, or I feel that it is not being complied, sorry, with, or the marshals feel there may be something that is not being complied with outside of, let's say, bad behavior by this defendant while incarcerated, I'm happy to come back before this court and or any other court to ask that the court ensure that the DJJ be DJJ kept that. Okay, I think that's supposed to be DJA or JDA. I don't know who's the DJJ. I think they was this no juvenile division. No, I don't know that I think that's a maybe a typo. And the court says, how do I deal with this language of the statute? Whenever possible, detention shall be in a foster home or community-based facility located in or near his home community. How do I deal with that? Ms. Lopez says, well, it clearly says whenever possible. However, I haven't heard that be part of what the defense has requested and I'm asking for, and the court interrupts, why wouldn't the uncle kind of satisfy that? They should be allowed no foster home. There's usually kids in those things, like foster homes. Why wouldn't the uncle? Okay, because he is not a foster parent. How about that? Miss Lopez says he is not a foster home because he is not in foster care. And that specifically, I think, and the court says yes, but the whole point of foster care is that there be the theory being there be some responsible place that puts somebody out of the environment that that may have generated criminal behavior. That is what a foster home would do in that situation. Okay, that's not going to do nothing. This kid was pissed off, right? He was upset. He done got taken out of his school, even though he didn't want to go there. But I don't think he wanted to move across the state with his mom and his new stepdaddy. And I think that's what pissed him off. That and Anna didn't want him, which is, I mean, hello. So it says, here, why isn't he the fundamental equivalent of a foster home? And Miss Lopez says, I believe that foster home means you do not have responsible adults that the court has decided that are related to and who have custody of you who could take care of that. That having been said, if the court wants to take it to the most, I agree, broad application, it could be. I go back to the fact that this goes to, I believe that this defendant is such a danger that even that situation is not tenable and enough to ensure that this court to ensure this court that he will not be a danger to others. Words were getting to me there. As I mentioned before, there are minor children in the home, and I appreciate, look, I'm not faulting Mr. Z for wanting to take his nephew. I understand that completely. And I understand that because he loves his nephew, he may not be concerned. But the parents weren't concerned when he lived in their home. In fact, the parents were so unconcerned that he was a danger that they had him in the same room as C and the victim, and yet look what he did. So again, I don't think his lack of concern is enough to ensure this court that this defendant will not be a danger to others, and I do believe that the situation or the detention at the juvenile residential center is sufficient to ensure this court, and in fact, might be the only way to ensure this court that he is not a danger to others while also making sure that he receives all of those things in 5035 that he's entitled to. The bedding, the clothing, the everything that we're all entitled to in life, right? That we're supposed to be. Shelter, heat, air conditioning. They ain't gonna give him heat. They'll give you air conditioning. So the court says, now, if I grant your motion, why would I then given the language of the statute, house him here as opposed to somewhere in the middle district. Miss Lopez says, well, Your Honor, first of all, because, and the court says, he has no family here, right? Miss Lopez says his mother lives and other family members live nearby. I think one issue is that, and the court says, interrupts again. They live in Miami. I didn't know that. Okay. That sounds like to me, like that's like Miss Lady Court person. I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but I think you do know that. And that was like a way to say that. Like they live in Miami. I don't know. That's the way I'm reading it. I didn't know that. Like, because then Miss Lopez says, I'm sorry, they live nearby. That means Titusville, which is about 2 hours away. That is where the rest of the family live. 2 hours for some people is not far. I drive an hour and 15, an hour and a half to doctor's appointments every week. So his uncle and his father live near Brooksville, which is on the other side of the state, just to be clear. And the court says, okay. They are on different sides of the state, but Titusville will also be in the middle district. Yes, it will also be in the middle district, but closer to this district. How can I house him here? And that's what the court says. And Miss Lopez says, well, Your Honor, because he's charged here. The court says, how do you deal with this language? Detention shall be based in a facility located in or near his home community. Because I guess this happened in international waters that, okay, I guess that's why we're having a problem. Ms. Lopez says, well, it says that the juvenile alleged to be delinquent may be detained only in a juvenile facility or other such place as the Attorney General may designate. Right, says the court. Whenever possible, detention shall be in a foster or community-based facility. That is the instruction to the Attorney General, not to the court. It is instructing the Attorney General that he may only be detained in a juvenile facility or other suitable place, and whenever possible, detention shall be in a foster home or community-based facility. That is the instruction to the Attorney General once this court has made the decision that he should be detained prior to trial because he is a danger to himself. So really, that is the sole discretion of the Attorney General, the BOP, or the Marshal Service. And the court, they were interrupted again. Putting the procedure aside, why would we house him somewhere where he is not near his family? I didn't know that's what we do. Ms. Lopez says, Your Honor, and the court interrupts again. In other words, he has no family here. I mean, like, are we kidding? His mom don't even want him. And she has 80% custody. What do you mean? The Marshal Service has a relationship with the with the Department of Juvenile Justice here, along with the Miami-Dade Correctional Facility. And the court interrupts her again, but they weren't looking at this language. In other words, this is the first time I have focused on this. And Miss Lopez says, here's the problem, Your Honor. The court says, right. Miss Lopez says, is that in order to ensure, and this I discussed with Miss Becker, Mr. Cohen earlier this morning, in order to ensure that there aren't any clerical mix-ups while he is in custody at the JRC and in custody of the DJJ, yes, it wasn't. While this is in juvenile status, the order that Your Honor signed specifically stated that the marshals are the only ones who can transport him or must be present when they transport him. When there are hearings on this case, if he were to be detained across the state at a facility, the marshals have the responsibility to go pick him up and bring him back, which is a significant time frame or efforts or resources to bring him back for every single court hearing. So the best way of ensuring that he is able to come to his court hearings without having to be woken up at 2 a.m. to be brought over here is to make sure that he is making it here on time. If there are any issues, for example, with a hearing going overtime or whatever, he is nearby so that the marshals may transport him back and forth. They're doing a whole lot for this kid. There is nothing in 5035 that prohibits him from being incarcerated someplace that is not near his house. It just says there is a preference, and that preference is directed to the Attorney General. The court says it says whenever possible. It says whenever possible. Correct, but it doesn't say that it is only or the Attorney General shall, and that is why I bring that up, that it's possible. But he is being charged in a place that is not his home district. Therefore, the possibility of housing him across the state and still being able to transport him back and forth, I think, regardless of what he is in a juvenile facility in whatever county Brooksville is in, and I will apologize for my ignorance of that. I know it is in the north of Hillsborough, or whether he is in the uncle's home. It would still be the responsibility, if the court is going to find that he should be detained and find that his uncle's home is the foster home. Under the way that this works, it is still on the attorney general to make sure the marshal service to make sure he comes back and forth. So I don't think that under that language, I think that Congress was wise enough to acknowledge that it may not always be possible for a different reason. And I argue that this is one of those reasons. He wasn't charged in the middle district because the boat came here and the court is here. And in order to make sure that he is, if, as I argue, the court should hold him in detention because he is a danger to others, it is not the responsibility, it is not that possible or that practical to have him housed on the other side of the state and have the marshals take him back and forth within hours, because otherwise, here's the option. Let's say the court will say, well, that's fine. I think that we could possibly have him here and still over there on the state and make sure he is there on time. So we will just bring him a little bit earlier than usual, or we will schedule things in the afternoon. Well, something goes over. What happens if he has to be held here? What happens during any hearings, whether it is not practical or possible to take him across the state for whatever the reason the marshals have? I guess that's true. He still would have to, he would still have a facility here to house him where he would be in custody, but without the presence of adults, and making sure that he has all of the special rights that juveniles under 5035 during their course of incarceration. Therefore, I again don't think that this is practical or possible. I think that it's practical or possible given the danger he poses and given the fact that the statute already acknowledged that it's not mandatory, but whenever possible. And I don't think it is that possible or practical here, is that we have gone out of our way to make sure that DJJ has an appropriate place for him to stay. Okay, so the juvenile facility, it says here, has the same rights as the other facilities for families to be there. And they also have phone and video capabilities to conduct calls with family members. So no tablet, but you're like on the old school phone, you know. Do they even do like actual visits? Hey, London girl. Welcome in, everybody. When I'm reading, I'm on another page, so it's hard to see you guys. I don't want them either. No, copy. It should be 18. But yeah, that he's a considered adult. I was getting thirsty, sorry. Actually, give me just 1 second. Oh my goodness, you should see my dogs right now. They're like on this bed. Let me see if I can take a picture real quick. Oh, don't move your Oh wait, I did zoom in too much. Oh, she moved her head. Dang it. She was wrapped around the other dog. It was cute. Really, Crystal? Stop kicking people out of my chat. And if you guys don't mind, will you please hit the like button? I forgot to ask you guys in the beginning. And that's why I can't see all too, because I'm on my iPad on. What? Girl, get it together. So it says the court here says you don't think that is a factor I have to consider in whether or not to detain the fact that he is not going to be anywhere near anybody that is part of his family. I mean, raise your hand if you don't have any family that lives anywhere near you. And you haven't broken the law. I mean, like, I don't know. I'm sure his dad will make the trip. Ms. Lopez says, no, Your Honor, because the duties of the magistrate are in 5034, and it says that this court shall determine whether or not he should be detained because he will not be able to appear here as required or to ensure his safety or that of others. 5035 is it. Instructions to the Attorney General. And the court says, what if I find that detention actually presents a danger to himself, to him, actually in part because he is so far away from his family? What about that? Who is his court person? Are they related to him? I'm that's like, I know they're not, but like, is this real life? What if I find that detention actually presents a danger to himself? Because they're saying he's a danger to other people, and now this judge guy or whatever, they're like, "Yeah, well, what if I say he's a danger, he's gonna hurt himself." Put him in a turtle suit. That's why they make them turtle suit. Like, what do you mean? I would disagree. Miss Lopez, you better say something. I would disagree with that, Your Honor. There has been no evidence presented here today that this defendant suffers from any sort of mental defect or anything else. Bam. Other than ADHD and sort of the court says he clearly suffers from some mental defect if the government's case is accurate, right? And he's supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. Miss Lopez says, but to finish my thought, he doesn't suffer from some mental defect or sickness that would pose a danger to him if he was not around his family in the immediate area. There's been no evidence of that. In fact, the evidence is that even with them around, he's committed these dangers. Yeah, with all of them. Yeah, you go, girl or guy. I forget it's a girl. Like, you got grandma, grandpa there sleeping. You got mom, stepdad, or vice versa. Sleeping. Or mom, stepdad, and you got your brother in the room with you. I mean, I don't so many people. So I don't think the court can make that jump because we have heard no evidence of that. And in fact, the evidence proves the opposite, that even with the family support around him and with people that he knows around him in a very stable environment where they're on vacation having fun, he still commits these atrocious crimes. Atrocious crimes. So I don't think that is going to do anything. And the court says the point that you just made actually raises another point, which is I would imagine that one of the things I've tried to find authority on when somebody decided to detain a juvenile, and I haven't found any really, for whatever reason, A, may not be a common thing, or B, it is done similarly and without an option or without an opinion, and so therefore there is nothing published about it. Okay, that's kind of confusing. It would seem to me that given the language of the statute, one of the concerns about having a juvenile outside of detention is if the person has a history and that history shows that no matter what somebody has done to try to help that person within the juvenile system, the person continuously commits crime. And so therefore, at some point, it becomes a detainable case. No, no. Sometimes people do crimes that are so heinous. Just pick one of the crimes he did. Which one? One of the two that he's charged with. They do them so bad, they need to be detained. You can no. Huh? I mean, I guess we're all going to go out on international waters and break the law and see what happens. Do you think that that would be more relevant factor? And if so, does that fit here given that we don't have any prior history of any juvenile offenses? That doesn't mean he didn't do anything. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean he didn't do something and his father or mother didn't call the law on him. I mean, and you said crimes. Well, technically it is one event, two crimes in one event. So how does that cut? Well, I say that cuts deep if you were Anna's parents. So Miss Lopez says, to address this first issue again, as the court says, we are kind of all flying blind here because there really is, again, as the court says, we don't know if it's just never been contested, if there just hasn't been an opinion. We really don't know. But there is a dearth of any decisions on this particular case. So we are all flying blind here, and I think we all acknowledge that makes this 10 times more difficult. That having been said, because as lawyers like to have very definitive guidelines and perimeters, and we just don't have it, I think that the first thing is I'm sorry, my boss is calling me. What? It took me off of my train of thought. I'm supposed to have a meeting in my office right now. Whoops. The court says, I was asking about, isn't detention in the juvenile setting better for a repeat offender than, and even though this crime was particularly heinous, obviously the most heinous, in fact, we don't have a repeat offender. We don't have a history that I can rely upon. Yes, Ms. Lopez says, so first of all, the JDA does not say this court should only detain this person or any juvenile upon a repeat offense. I think just like the Bail Reform Act, if we are dealing with an adult, the court can still detain someone based on the nature of the offense of the crime committed and the evidence as to the dangerousness or risk of flight. If that is what we're discussing, that they should be detained despite not having priors. I don't think priors change here, especially because the statute 5034 does not prescribe that. The only time priors appear or prior acts of delinquency appear in the JDA is in discussing sentences or depositions, which of course were not there, but also discussing whether or not this becomes an automatic adult transfer. That is the only time it appears. If this defendant had a prior crime of violence, then it would indicate it would be an automatic adult transfer, but that does not mean the court cannot detain him even if it's an automatic adult transfer. Nothing in 5034 discusses that. Okay, we're going to kind of go through this. I think might make you guys go to sleep if I read all that. We're going to read the parts that we know, like that they're just talking about detaining him. It says, I think if they felt this court should only take into account or only consider for detention people with priors, they would have said that. They didn't do that. They only said that this court could detain if they find it is a risk of flight or a danger to self or others. And she said, I mean, they are here. The court said, well, maybe I think that he's a flight or like a danger to himself or whatever. Well, right there, it's in that. So. To go to the second part of the court's question, therefore, I feel that the fact that we have a single event without warning, without any indication that he was even close to doing this, and he committed not just one horrific crime, probably the worst you could commit against someone, but a second one that violates a person's body, is concerning and really cuts towards who he really is, or he really is a danger, who at any moment, to quote the case, could pop off, as they say, and commit a crime like that without any warning. That is very dangerous. The court has no assurance that unless he is in controlled environment, such as a detention in a facility where he has structure, still we're giving all of the things that he is entitled to under 5035, but isn't around people who, or at least in an environment that is controlled enough that it stops people from hurting one another, that he's not going to hurt someone else. And then the court says, other than other individuals who are also at the facility. Like, I mean, who is this person in the court? I want to know who they are. I want to talk to them. I want to write them a letter and say, you're like, get off the bench. Like, they're fighting the prosecution the whole time. I don't get it. And then Ms. Lopez says that is only something that occurs at a facility. There are also children at that facility. There are all children at that facility. Like, they're all children, she said. Like, you know what I mean? It's an open facility. Okay. But then they're just saying like he's dealing with people his own age, not a 10-year-old, not a 7-year-old. Yeah. I'm just going to throw this out there to the court. Maybe recalling about 15 years ago, there was a case where Department of Juvenile Justice officers were basically egging juveniles on to beat up other juveniles. That's been dealt with. These people went to jail, and there have been no further complaints of that either to the county or to the state. And then the court says, I have not heard of that. Okay. And then Ms. Lopez says, okay, in all candor, that was a criminal case. I'm assuming that it was just other juveniles, not the juvenile corrections officers. Well, if you don't know about the case, who cares? You don't want to know about it. I mean, why are we talking about it? So they were just egging on other juveniles to beat up other juveniles for their entertainment. What facility was that? Juvenile Assessment Center here in downtown, where he would not be housed. Okay, well, he would be housed there. And they're just talking about like since that incident occurred, there hasn't been any incidents like that since. And so the only reason why I bring it up is I know, and maybe it was something that the court had in mind, maybe not, but the point is that even if you were taken if you were to take something like that, which I think would be the most extreme and egregious example, that hasn't happened since. Then there have been no complaints of that, which is why I think the Marshal Service, upon their review of the facility, has found that it satisfies them, that it meets the requirements of 5035. The defendant will be safe there. But like any inmate, if he has any problems, I have no issues like any other inmate. Or wait, oh yeah, that I have dealt with on on many of my adult cases for the defense to bring to my attention he's having these issues. We bring it before the court and we discuss it with the court at that time in order to assure some other way in which we can avoid issues if they exist. Okay. This is just them talking about the different jails. So right here it says Deputy Colin Deputy Colin just let me know that Miami-Dade Corrections and Rehabilitation has told him that they would put him in juvenile section of Metro West. They had told me TJK. The point being is that it is a separate section of the state detention facility that would only house juveniles, no adults. It is the same parameters, making sure because I know the marshals have also toured that facility and it meets the parameters of 5035. So I don't have any concerns about that. But again, if it would be, I'm the first one to say we can bring it back before the court and discuss it. Okay. The court says, last question on the analogy to a normal detention order. The weight of the evidence is important. Assuming I find and agree with you, when I do that, there's probable cause to charge that the individual in terms of the weight of the government's case. How do you think that cuts? And she says, I still think that the weight of the evidence is strong. Circumstantial evidence is sufficient evidence to convict. There are plenty of cases in our circuit and in the court interrupts her. Yes, but I don't detain a lot of people based on circumstantial evidence cases. Well, they got him on video. I don't get it. And then they're just talking about, okay. So it says, the court says, because it's clear and convincing standard for danger, especially. And then Ms. Lopez says, well, we have a defendant who is alone with the victim for 3.5 hours. And during that time or that period, both her health information stops saying that her heart is beating and she stops texting. I didn't mean to hit that. No one else is in that room. No one else enters or exits that room except for him. This is not a body found in the middle of the street somewhere where many cars and people have access. We know based on the video, it is only T and the victim in that room. And therefore, while we don't have an actual video showing him killing her, we know that he killed her by mechanical asphyxiation. That can't be done without the actions of another doing so. He had the 3.5 hours to do so when her phone and her health information showed that she was pretty much not alive anymore. And we do have DNA on the scene because the semen is inside of her. So I think that the weight of the evidence is strong. The weight of the evidence is strong when we have no one else except T in that room with the victim, when her phone and her Apple Watch stop showing that she is alive. And when we know, and then the court decides to interrupt. Was the defendant photographed and examined before he left the boat? Ms. Lopez says, I'm not aware if he was photographed because this didn't come out. And the court said, did he display any type of physical injuries? No, I did ask this of the agent prior. He does not have, or they did not see, let me put it that way, any evidence of injury or anything on his body. He was, and since the court is asking, and then the court says, was he examined at the time? Well, he was Baker acted because he begun to cry uncontrollably and say that he was afraid he'd hurt himself and those around, and law enforcement were concerned about that. So they took him into the facility because he was busted. He was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't imagine murdering somebody. I mean, I just, I couldn't. But like the moment that the body's found, right? And like you're sitting there. What do you do? Just look over this way? I mean, literally he did. I mean, there was a room full of people in his room. There's people all in his room because like they found the body and he just walks on by. Doesn't even wave hi, doesn't go in to say, hey, y'all in my room. He's just like, "I'm out of here." It's crazy. It says, "I don't have access to those records because at this point, mental health is not a defense or hasn't been made one." Okay. He just let the court know he was not examined because they Baker acted him and took him to the facility. I don't know what the facility noted on him. Okay. But it says here that the agents that interacted with him did not see any visible injuries. And the court said, "I appreciate that." Wow. Okay. So then they're going to conclude it. Oh, now Mr. Q. Oh my God. He says, "Your Honor, I think we just need to respond to a few brief points." And the court said, "No, that is okay." Man, they're sassy. She's like, she or he, they're like, "I'm done. I'm done." The court finds that there is probable cause to charge the defendant as to the weight of the evidence involved there. Everybody get pissed because, with all due respect to the prosecutor, I don't know that I'd characterize it as a strong case. Okay. So you have 3 people in a room. 2 of those people go in 3 minutes apart. One of those people exits that room, but the other person never does again. Who do you think killed her? They're really trying to put this on the 13-year-old kid, Connor. I'm telling you, the defense is pretty good. I mean, for being, like they're getting paid by the state. So, with all due respect as to the prosecutor, I don't know if I characterize it as a strong case. It is a case to be made, but also there are various defenses that could also be raised. So, it is much closer call. There's only one defense that they could raise. That would be that his younger brother killed her in the middle of the night and that he was helping protect him by taking her phone up to the 12th deck and throwing it away in the trash can for him. Because Timothy had the phone. He's on camera going up to the 12th deck, throwing it away. I mean, like, that's the only thing I could think of off the rip. So I'm not a defense attorney, but that's pretty good. Oh, nice, Machichi. I wish I could surf in my pool. The kids might not like that. So the court finds, okay, that there is probable cause to charge the defendant as to the weight of the evidence involved there, with all due respect. Okay, we already read that. So, secondly, in my review of the statute, there is clearly a presumption of a bond in a juvenile case, not a bond. In fact, there are several cases that said that if the juvenile is released, there is no bond. There is not supposed to be a bond issued on the theory that release is the presumption. What? Well, I mean, I guess so. Yeah, you don't make the bond. Well, no, you kind of do. You make the bond high so people can't get out. Okay. Third, upon my review of the statute, I find and government concedes that he is not a risk of flight given the conditions that have been proffered to the court in terms of his appearance in court. And in fact, he has made available to the government and made available to the court. Okay, what, twice? This is the second time? So the only basis upon which I can detain are the second and third elements of 5034, which is that I find that he merits detention to ensure his safety or that of others. In terms of his safety, I don't find that detention is necessary to preserve his safety based upon his current condition, or at least the evidence of his condition as has been presented. What condition? What condition? What condition? We're evidence of it. What's the evidence that he's 120 pounds soaking wet? Really? No, what was the evidence? We missed that. We missed the evidence. We didn't hear any evidence. I think this judge, we need to talk to her. I think he or she is on something. Are you hitting the bottle or something? Additionally, detention in a Miami-Dade facility far away from his family may actually present a danger to him. And I think that is a factor that I can take into account. If somebody is on, okay, allegedly, if someone murders somebody and they're sent to jail and they kill themselves. And, you know, I mean, that would be bad. But if that person was guilty of that crime, would you rather the killer of somebody take his own life than to be out in the public taking other people's lives? I don't know. Just it's very weird. It's a very like tricky situation, right? I mean, you know, but yeah, his mama doesn't even want him. So sorry, I would be like, you got to go. You have to go to a detention center. You do something wrong. If I were to break the law, I would go to jail right now. If any of you all were to break the law, you'd go to jail. Like, but this kid doesn't have to go to jail until he's ready. I mean, him waltzing in and out of that courthouse is crazy to me. In fairness to the government, listen to this. I hate when people say this. Is this the court? This is the freaking court saying this, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It is. The court saying this. In fairness to the government, it is what it is. I never thought I'd read that in a legal document. It is what it is. I hate that saying so bad. All the way over here, I don't know why they spaced it all the way over there, think the government has done a very good job of putting together an argument for why and how the defendant should be better housed here, but I actually think okay, so we're going to read this again. In fairness to the government, so to the prosecution, it is what it is. I think the prosecution, the government, has done a very good job of putting together an argument for why and how the defendant should be better housed here. But I actually think that if I had to call it right now, I think he would be in greater danger in terms of his safety housed in a facility here, far away from his family. Has anybody been arrested? And when you were arrested, did the cops ask you where your family lived so they could take you to the proper jail? Make sure you're close to family? No. So therefore, the second and first element of the statute have not been satisfied. Then as to the dangers of others, that is the most concerning factor. To some extent, the nature of the offense that the government is presenting is of such a unique and heinous character. However, it is a different type of an offense necessarily that I would expect the conduct to occur. Unfortunately, according to the government's case, this defendant became infatuated with his stepsister and something happened in that room and then she resulted in being raped and murdered. That was not how it went, but okay. But that is a highly personal offense that undermines my ability to make a finding that the defendant continues to present a danger to others. He killed her with his hands or his arm or something, like his body. Oh my goodness. Like, the biggest danger is that the defendant presents to other family members. So if the defendant is released, obviously I'd have to make sure that the situation was addressed. I mean, are they going to make his mom take care of him? That's what I would do. I'd be like, you better go back to your mom. She has 80% custody of you. Or you're going to go to jail. I mean, that's what I would do, right? This is insanity. And then them calling her A the whole time. I don't know. She has a name. All right. So in consideration of the two statutes as a whole and considering the nature of the proceeding, I don't think a sufficient case has been made for me to impose detention at a Miami-Dade facility, in this case, as heinous as the crime that we are talking about. You know, like when he heard that, he was feeling good. This right here. I will therefore release the defendant. If this kid gets out, I mean, if he's out right now. If he does hurt somebody else, it's going to be on this court. It says they're going to release the defendant. Now, I will also say that there's an additional consideration here, which I think can be presented to Judge Bloom upon her decision if she determines that this case is strong enough and warrants treating the defendant as an adult for purpose of the case. I think at that point, my release determination needs to be reconsidered because obviously the factors that she would take into account in making that determination are relevant to the overall issue. And the government's case for now, for example, housing him in a facility here is stronger. So I say that because I think the appropriate course at this point is for me to release him as he is a juvenile. But if that situation changes, when he gets older, I think Judge Bloom would be the right person to go to and say that she would vacate my ruling at that point and reconsider the housing determination. It makes perfect sense to me for that to happen. So is this person trying to like not be the judge, and they're like, go talk to Judge Bloom? Like, you know what I mean? Because it'll be like it'll go into like adult court, kind of like we did with Judge Marshall in the Idaho case, and then we went to Judge John Judge, like that. Like it went into higher court. And then it just says if I order the detention at this point, trial must be in 30 days. Okay, well, let's go down towards the bottom. Let me see. The custodian obviously will be required to bring the defendant to any court proceedings, all that stuff. Give him adequate food, condition, clothing. He's going to be living the life at his uncle's house. You know what I mean? Like compared to a jail. So with these conditions in place, I don't think detention is appropriate under the statute. And then the court is saying it would be home detention with allowances for the uncle for the custodian's decision to remove the defendant in his custody. For example, to take him to church, to take him to medical facilities, to take him to a psychological consultation that may be required. So can you take him to work? If the custodian is with him, taking him to work with him, the custodian has the discretion to remove the defendant from essentially home detention so that the probation doesn't have to do it. So he can like just be like out there doing whatever the hell he wants to be doing. And they want him to be like like adult probation or whatever. They want probation for him. The judge like, I'll grant that. And so they're like, she's like, that'll restrict his travel between the Southern District and Middle District. Granted, yeah, like those are he's going to grant, but like the big one, detention, no. They're already going to be removed, Miss Lopez. We don't need to repeat that. They said that if he had firearms, he would remove them. Was I the only, were we the only ones listening to this? I mean, I really would like next time we go over a document like this, I'm going to like point out every single thing like that we've already talked about. And then they're talking about the custody from the other court. What I would request is that the court ordered the third party custodian and this defendant to follow the existing custody agreement currently in effect. Okay. Or just talking about the 80-20. It says the state court has primary responsibility on custody, but my order is consistent with the current state court order. Okay. And then they want they want them to provide the paperwork for the current custody agreement. I could give you that if you need it. I think I have it. I don't know if I do. I know I have some of the documents. Any additional things from probation? So the minor is reporting to the office. He needs to be with a parent or guardian at all times so that he is not alone with an adult probation officer. And then, well, if the probation officer comes to the home, an adult needs to be there. Well, they should be. He shouldn't be without an adult. Oh, this is so weird. So it says, "So I'm gonna release you, defendant, on your uncle's custodian and representation." It's so crazy. Let's all go out and get arrested and see if we can use any of these. Any of the excuses that the court gave, you know? Wasn't me, not my kid. Welcome in, everybody. Hello. So basically, so to kind of go back over what you know, yeah, her name's Joanne Nakari. I need to talk to you, court reporter person. I really would like to like be like, what are you okay, lady? Like, are you okay? I mean, they were all acting dumb except for the prosecution. And I'm not saying that just because it was the prosecution, but like the defendant, like the defense kept saying, like, oh, we went over that, or and then like the judge was like, oh, we did that. I didn't like it was, you know what I mean? Like, oh, so it's 80-20 custody. And it's like they've been screaming that for 20 minutes in these documents. What do you mean? But they were pretty spicy. The last 2 nights were super, like, I felt like there was just a lot of information. I'm not talking about what happened to Anna. I'm talking about the defense and the attorney, the court, and the prosecution, just them, like, talking back and forth was getting, like, they were ready to fight. But, yeah, so that was an hour and 26 minutes, so I think altogether, how long did that take? Like 5 hours or something to read all those? That's a lot of pages. 145. Let me see if there's anything out there right now. I might go over to my second channel tonight and do a little live. I'm debating on it, but I might. I might be able to, like, go over there at 7. I don't know. Maybe we'll do that. So make sure you have a lookout for my second channel. It is Unfiltered with Tanya. Yeah, nobody take my name either. I heard someone say they were going to do a name change the other day, and they said something about unfiltered, and I was like, oh, please don't, for the love of God, please don't. Because, I mean, like, I'd be doing that. But so I heard JLR got his ass kicked out of the freaking crime con that he wasn't even in. He wasn't even there. He was outside and got kicked out. How does that happen? Like, he was in the hotel, but not like in where the crime con was. I mean, sticking cameras in people's faces, calling them women beaters when he's going to court when? June 2nd? I think June 2nd, June 6th for that. It's crazy. Thanks, Ladybug. I know. And I'm like, people are like taking up for him. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. We don't know. No, no, no. We don't do that. He is a joke. Like, well, that's like when we first started covering Nancy Guthrie, there was a few people that came in, and it's fine that you guys did that. I mean, it's totally fine. I don't even remember who it was, so I couldn't tell you. But people were coming in, they were like, play JLR, he's there, he's on scene. And I was like, hell no. And I was like, I thought about I had to say it like 3 or 4 nights in a row. Like, because it was just different people, you know what I mean, that would come in or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not that kind of like, I will play like Nancy Grace, but I like to talk through it. I don't like just putting on especially like another creator like that. Like, I think of JLR as just like, you know what I mean? He's just another creator. And like, I don't know, like that's his stuff. I can't watch him. I just can't. I can't do it. Especially after every time I look at him, I think I see Magnolia's face beaten, and she's on X and she's talking. She's talking. He has no boundaries. And what I said, okay, so what he did was he walked up to this guy. I don't know the guy. I don't care who the guy is, right? I did a video short, so go check it out. But he walks up to the guy and he literally right in his face. Vincent knows. I told Vincent last night and he agreed. He's like, "I already know." I said, "As soon as that camera would have come into my personal space or his arm or a leg, I don't care. Like, if this is me, like people that know me know that that's me. Only one person is allowed in that personal space without invitation, and that's Vincent. Everybody else is by invite only. By invite only. But no, like I don't like people in my personal space. I would have smacked the phone. I would have not like that guy. He did have on two pairs of glasses, so maybe he like couldn't see. But I just like literally would have. I wouldn't have thought about it, guys. Is that mean? Is that bad? Am I a bad person for that? I don't think I am. But like if someone's walking up to you with a camera, your first reaction, get that thing out of my face. Like that's I would think it was as a threat. Like, and that's just me. I told Vincent I would have went to jail. Just get my bail money ready. Because I probably would have went to jail. But he got kicked out. So yeah, we'll have to talk about it. We'll have to go over the X post. Nerdy Addict's been on it. He's oh my god. I mean, and then there's like new posts in front of like Nancy Guthrie's house. Like it's just crazy. It's a natural reaction, isn't it? Okay, so I didn't think of that. I didn't think I was that crazy. But I mean, that would be a natural reaction. You know. Let's see, ladies. Oh my god. Jet set. He's pretty sleazy. Yeah. And I think that like, I don't know. Thanks, Laura. I think that with him, he has such a big channel. Like he grew I don't know how he did it, but he grew really big. And so people, I think, see that. Like, I think as soon as he hit like 100,000 or like even under that, I think that people like when he was doing the border stuff, he was actually doing okay down there. But I think that's when people like he got a new flush of people, like a bunch of new people in, and they don't know about his past. Like they just don't know about him. And I think people need to know. He sued his parents. Who sues their parents? When I turned 18 years old, my parents were spoiled. I spoiled them so good. I bought them a new bed. I got them a privacy fence. I think I got my mom like a new car, helped her get a new car. I just because when you get older, you do that for your parents. You help them because they helped you grow up. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, it's a circle of life. You don't go sue them. I could never imagine suing my mama. From the the Conte case. And that's funny to me too. About that Daniel Conte case, because him and Nick the Hat kind of got together. And I guess Granny's watching was also out there videotaping that stuff going on. So. Oh yeah, London girl, 10 years in jail. 10. That's a lot. That's a long time. That's a stint. That's a decade of your life. Think of all he's learned being in jail, being in prison. It's scary what you'll learn. I mean, you'll be MacGyver. You know what I mean? You can take like a necklace and a toothpick and get out of jail. Not a necklace. They wouldn't give you one, but you know what I mean. I think a lot of people followed him during the Daniel Conte case. I didn't cover that one. We were covering something else at the same time. Like there was another case that was big. And and that's the thing too. There was no footage unless you stream JLR. And so I didn't want to do that. So here we were. We weren't doing much. But yeah, you have to check out my short. He like literally just walks up on this guy. I don't know who this guy is. He's like, I heard you've been talking about me. Like there's already a note from CrimeCon that says that he can't be in there. And like then he does it again. Oh my nerdy. He said, we found the wedding Ted went to, ran it through the Wayback Machine, pulled the groomsman list, and well, hello, Ted investigates. Like, that's some sleuthy stuff right there. Y'all are messy. I love it. I always forget about the Wayback Machine. I always forget about that. Oh, I guess. Wow, it's gonna get messy. Oh, wow, so I'm not the only one. So, like, yeah, right before he got, like, kicked out, that was when I posted the video, and I went to Twitter, and I, like, tagged him, and so it looks like Nerdy tagged him and stuff too. It gives me the creeps too. They all are creepy. Yeah. Well, you know, I think that it was very smart. We'll talk about this on the other live, though. I think that that security guard going up to the creators, you know what I mean? Like going up to those creators and being like, "Hey, I know what happened last year." He was just nipping it in the bud, in my personal opinion. He was just nipping the shit before it happened because he already knew it was going to happen. It was already happening. Even though, like, they're trying to act like they're all victims and stuff. He says on the recording, "You're not allowed to record." And what are they doing? They're recording. Like, the dude just said, "You cannot record." He doesn't know she's recording. She just has her phone down. But it's like, he just said that was one of the rules, and you're breaking it. I think it's great that they did that because then if something were to happen, they would have their eyes out, right? I find it very, very, very weird that she's on the platform now, but she was involved in a case. She's part of the victim's family. She thought that this was wrong. She thought that them being pulled aside and just getting a little talking to was wrong. You had family that are victims. Would you want that shit going on at CrimeCon when you were there? Well, I'm so confused. I don't know. I'm just so confused. I'm crazy confused. So you can just, if you want to find stuff about CrimeCon, you could probably go to your live tab, basically, or you can look on the internet. It's basically like at a hotel, and it's a bunch of creators that sit around and hang out, and they, have like little booths if you're allowed a booth. They only have certain creators that they allow on Creator Row. And you can go see like your favorite YouTuber or whatever. You can pay $399, I think is what the prices are, and then they go up from there to like 1,000 or something like that. But if I were to go, I would want to go for all of it. Like you know what I mean? If you're gonna go, you're gonna go big. But I thought I was missing out on something. I think I just missed out on the juicy drama that I could have been recording myself with my fake. I'm gonna get me some fake ones, like some fake glasses. They don't think that they're meta glasses. But thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna jump off here. Might come back on tonight. I think I'm going to, because this CrimeCon stuff has gotten me like, I was just like, what was going on? Did anyone see Lauren Matthias? I wonder what happened with her. I want to know everything. I want to know all the deets. So I will make a thumbnail here in a little bit. I'm gonna go check on Vincent. He hurt his back. My boys are not doing good. They're just not doing good. So I'm gonna go check on him. I had him medicine and everything ready for him. He should still be good. And then I'm gonna go check on my cat, and then I'll make the thumbnail. So I'll be back on later. I will see. Oh, I'm so hot. I've been over here so hot, and it's because my fan ain't on me. But I'll be back on later on, and yeah, that's all I got for you. So I'll see you guys all later. Please hit the like button on your way out. Hit the dislike, as Jones would say, if you're a little bitch. Don't be that. Just hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you. We do talk true crime here mostly every day. So I'll see you guys all later on the second channel, Unfiltered with Tanya. Bye, guys.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless. A sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring.